Sup. My name is Alien Duckling, and welcome back to my Total Extreme Wrestling 2020 Stardom series. In the last video, we began the new summer tour, which got off to a pretty exciting start. And in some exciting news, this video might be a bit longer, as we'll be running 3 shows, wrapping up the new summer tour, as well as Explode in Summer. So without further ado, we're going to jump into this and just get things underway. And kicking off the show as usual, we have a 3-way match as Micah of Donna Del Mondo meets with Mina Shirakawa of Cosmic Angels and Rina of Oedo Tai. In the end, Rina looks to defeat Mina once again with a roll-up, but Mina is able to reverse it, and it is instead Mina Shirakawa getting the victory as she pins Rina with a quick cradle. Micah, the best of the match with a 42, Mina not far behind at all at a 41, Rina, the weak link as usual, only scoring a 29, but a 41 segment rating overall to start off our show, very good. And we move on to our second 3-way match of the night, as 3 competitors that embody high speed clash in a non-title bout, as reigning champion Donna Del Mondo's Natsupoi meets with Oedo Tai's Saki Kashima and Queen's Quest's Saya Kamitani. Able to score the victory is Saki Kashima, pinning the reigning champion with Revival after 11 minutes and 20 seconds. Natsupoi was off her game but still scoring the best of the match with a 48. Saki at a 45 and Saya Kamitani at a 43, everyone pretty close together in the 40 region, getting us a 43 segment rating overall, and Saki Kashima now holding a pinfall victory over the reigning high-speed champion. Moving on, we have a tag team match as the reigning Wonder of Stardom champion Tam Nakano and the reigning Future Stardom champion Unagi Sayaka, both of Cosmic Angels, team up against Oedo Tai's Konami and Ruaka. In the end, Tam Nakano is able to score the victory as she pins Ruaka with a Tiger Suplex after 15 minutes and 25 seconds. Tam Nakano looking to sort of get back into her winning ways after losing to Konami quite decisively on our last show, and she has done so quite effectively as she pins the upcoming challenger for the Future of Stardom title, that being Ruaka. Konami highest of the match at a 61 rating, Tam Nakano 53, Unagi Sayaka at a 42, and Ruaka at a 39 as the lowest. An overall segment rating of 50 is pretty good. It's a lot higher than I was expecting out of this match, though there's been a lot of improvement out of everybody, and Konami and Tam Nakano are undoubtedly 2 of the best on the entire roster. And moving on, we have more trios action as Stars Mayu Iwatani, Koguma, and Hanan meet with the Oedo Tai lineup of Natsuko Tora, Fukigen Death, and Starlight Kid. After 14 minutes and 4 seconds, it is Starlight Kid again picking up the victory as her twisting body press puts away Koguma. Mayu Iwatani was the best of the match, scoring an in-ring performance of 62. Fukigen Death at a 51. Natsuko Tora 45, Starlight Kid close behind with 44, 32 for Koguma, and 29 for Hanan. Everybody, as I said, has been improving on the roster, and it's nice to see their ratings grow, even if just slowly. A 48 segment rating overall is pretty good for the trios match, preluding our main event. Hanan was off her game as well, so bringing her rating down a little. And as we move on to the main event, we have Queen's Quest's Utami Hayashishita, Azumi, and Momo Watanabe preluding their respective clashes against Donna Del Mondo's Himeka, Julia, and Shuri. After over 18 minutes, it is Shuri scoring the victory for her team as she submits her upcoming challenger Azumi with Suzaku. Utami Hayashishita again killing it as the best of the match with a 59. Shuri in second place with a 54. Azumi and Momo tied with a 52. Julia off her game but still scoring a 46, and Himeka with a 45 just behind. 53 segment rating overall is quite good for our main event. And 53 is the show rating as well, increasing our popularity in 17 regions once again. Pretty simple show, nothing too noteworthy besides Saki Kashima picking up a victory over the reigning high-speed champion, as well as Shuri picking up a victory over her upcoming challenger for the Goddess of Stardom Championship. Of course, it will be Julia and Shuri defending those titles against Azumi and Momo Watanabe coming up. Still quite a strong show, only green numbers on the board, which is very pleasant to see, And now we move on to the second of 3 shows in this video. Opening the show, we have a 3-way match as Azumi of Queen's Quest meets with Hanan of Stars and Lady C. After a little over 9 minutes, it is Azumi picking up the victory as she pins Lady C with Azumi Sushi. Azumi carrying the match as you'd expect at a 50 rating, Hanan down there with a 31, and Lady C as the worst with a 20. Segment rating of 35 to start the show, not the worst start that we could have, though not the best either. And moving on, we have tag team action as Natsupoi and Shiri of Donna Del Mondo team up to meet with Saki Kashima and Reina of Oedo Tai. And after nearly 15 minutes, it is Natsupoi getting one back on Oedo Tai as she pins Reina with a cartwheel body press. Shiri best of the match with a 54, Natsupoi with a 49, Saki Kashima with a 42 as well, and Reina the worst of the match with a 25. Even with Natsupoi getting the victory here, she defeated Reina. Saki Kashima still has her victory over Natsupoi, and she still has that right to challenge for the high speed title when she pleases. 42 segment rating overall, however, very good for just this tag match. Brought down quite a bit by Reina as usual, but I don't fault her. She has been growing a lot this series, even with the low ratings still. Moving on is Trios action as the entire lineup of Cosmic Angels meets with Oedo Tai's Konami, Ruika, and Fukigen Death. After 14 minutes, it is Ruika picking up the victory for her team as she pins Mina Shirakawa with her diving splash. Pretty solid performances throughout as well. Konami at the top with a 63, Tam Nakano a little bit behind at a 53, Fukigen Death at a 50, Unagi Sayaka and Mina Shirakawa tied with a 40, and Ruika as the weak link of the bout at a 34 while off her game. 48 segment rating overall is pretty nice for this match. Ruika building some momentum going into her match against Unagi Sayaka for the Future of Stardom title, and of course definitely still tension between Konami and Tam Nakano after Konami made things a little bit personal with the mentioning of Arisa Hoshiki when issuing her challenge to Tam Nakano. Moving on is tag team action as Mayu Iwatani and Koguma of Stars meet with Oedo Tai's Natsuko Tora and Starlight Kid. After nearly 13 minutes, Natsuko Tora picks up the victory over Koguma with Ascension. Mayu carrying the match as you'd expect, getting a 61 rating as the highest. Starlight Kid at a 46 for second place, Natsuko Tora not far behind at a 44 while being really off her game, and Koguma trailing behind at a 34 and sustaining a cracked tailbone during the bout. Things not looking good for my roster. I already have 3 people out on the shelf right now, and Hina is nursing a minor injury, and now Koguma may be out for a little while as well. But moving on to our main event, it is another clash between Queen's Quest and Donna Del Mondo as Utami Hayashishita, Momo Watanabe, and Sayaka Mitani meet with Donna Del Mondo's Himeka, Julia, and Maika. After 17 minutes, it is Sayaka Mitani picking up the victory over Maika with a Phoenix Splash, getting some extra momentum for Queen's Quest going into their respective clashes during the Cinderella Summer tour. As always, Utami Hayashishita best of the match at a 58, Momo Watanabe in second place with a 53, Julia not far behind at a 52, Himeka off her game still scoring a 44, and Maika just behind with a 43, and Sayaka Mitani trailing behind at a 35. Overall segment rating of 50 is quite good for our main event, and a 49 in total to increase our popularity in 16 regions this time. I would say that this was not at all bad for our final New Summer Tour show ahead of Explode in Summer, which is pretty much a step up from these kinds of shows, and it's going to feature some important clashes and take that one final step towards, the big shows, that being the 3 Cinderella Summer shows in Osaka, Nagoya, and Tokyo. And just before we jump into the next show, I want to give a quick little injury update on Koguma. As you can see on screen right now, she is currently working through the cracked tailbone sustained in that trios match against Oedo Tai. It'll affect her for the next 27 days, which is a little unfortunate as I'm going to have to limit her bookings a bit so she doesn't aggravate the injury and she doesn't hold down her performances too much. So now 3 of the 5 Stars members nursing some kind of injury, which is very unfortunate for Mayu Iwatani's unit. But somber news aside, now it is time that we jump in to Explode in Summer. And the show begins with 3-way action as Fukigen Death of Oedo Tai meets with Koguma of Stars and Natsupoi of Donna del Mondo. And after 11 minutes, it is Natsupoi picking up the victory as she pins Koguma with a cartwheel body press. Fukigen Death, the best of the match at a 58, Natsupoi not far behind with a 56, and Koguma having limited involvement in the match, only scoring a 16. She was also slowed by injury, and the flow of the match was, of course, hurt by it partly being a singles match, Koguma not being involved that much. Still getting a 47 segment rating, which is very good to start the show, getting it off to a strong start and getting the crowd hotter going forward. And up next is a tag team match pitting Mayu Iwatani and Hanan of Stars versus Natsuko Tora and Starlight Kid of Oedo Tai. But ahead of the match, Mayu and Hanan have already entered when Natsuko Tora comes out alone. She has a microphone in hand, and she looks at her opponents and she says to both of them that she's been very disappointed with how disobedient Starlight Kid has been as of late. She hasn't felt like a real member of Oedo Tai because she's too scared to fight against her family. Well, from this day forward, you will no longer be considered family, and the Starlight Kid that you know and love is dead and gone. I now introduce to you the true newest member of Oedo Tai, SLK. Then out from the back to new entrance music and just a whole new atmosphere, it feels like. The woman once known as Starlight Kid emerges. Her attire is predominantly black, only a hint of color to represent her former self. She is a changed woman now, going by the moniker of SLK. And as we move on to the actual match after nearly 17 minutes, it is SLK picking up the victory as she pins Hanan with a Shiranui. Mayu Iwatani carrying the match as usual with a 75 in-ring performance, insanely good from the icon of Stardom. Second place goes to Natsuko Tora, scoring a 49, SLK just behind her at 48. And Hanan down there with a 30 for a 53 segment rating overall. And after the match, Mayu Iwatani is the one to grab a microphone right as Oedo Tai are about to leave. She yells at Natsuko to stop, and she does just that, remaining in the ring. She turns to look at Mayu Iwatani and just rudely yells at her like, "What do you want?" And Mayu begins to speak. For the longest time, I felt like nobody would ever stay by my side. Everyone that I ever grew close with, they left me, they betrayed me. Whatever it was, I just couldn't keep a friend. And over the years that I got to know Starlight Kid, some little girl that came in with dreams of being a wrestler and someone that just felt like me, I grew attached to her. And all the years that we spent together as friends, as training partners, as teammates, and as sisters, I grew to love Starlight Kid. I love her like family, and I always will. I don't know what you did to Starlight Kid, but I know this is not her. This is some creation from Oedo Tai. You have brainwashed someone that I consider a sister into being one of your mindless followers, just like you did to Saki Kashima, to Rina, to Ruika, to Fukigen Death, and just like you will continue trying to do to everybody that I hold dear to me. And Natsuko, I've had enough. I don't know what your ultimate goal is, but I think I have a pretty clear idea of what you want. And what you want is for Oedo Tai to rule over Stardom and for nothing to stand in their way. And if you want that, then I have an idea. One more match, Natsuko. You versus me. I'll let you do anything that you want. No countouts, no disqualifications. I want you in a hardcore match. But there's an extra few conditions that I want for that match. No rules does not mean that you can use the numbers advantage on me. Every member of Stars and every member of Oedo Tai stays in the back until after the match. If I win, then I want every member of Oedo Tai to evaluate their position, to pick a side, either Oedo Tai or Stars. But if you win, I will disband Stars. That last condition catching pretty much everybody off guard. Natsuko, SLK, Hanan, just anybody that is nearby, listening to what Mayu has to say, just in disbelief at the proposition that's been laid out. And Natsuko Tora is not going to sit and wait and just think to herself about that answer. She's going to give it right now. And Natsuko says, Mayu, you just continue to prove that you're an even bigger idiot than I believe you to be. I beat you once in singles competition, and Oedo Tai has consistently beaten you in just about every tag match that we've been put into. And now, you want to take things to my playground? A match type where no rules are in play, and I can do anything that I want to you. Your idiocy really baffles me, but I'm not going to complain about the opportunity to shut Stars up once and for all. So I accept your challenge, and I'll meet you at Cinderella Summer in Tokyo. And if by some miracle you do manage to walk away as the victor, then I think you'll be rather displeased to find that everybody that's turned their back on you and everybody that I've pulled away from your grasp has found a much better home in Oedo Tai. So a very interesting situation here. It looks like the match has been agreed upon by both parties, and that at Cinderella Summer in Tokyo, we will see one last singles match between Mayu Iwatani and Natsuko Tora. If Mayu Iwatani wins, then every member of Oedo Tai has to pick a side between their current unit and Stars. But if Natsuko Tora wins, then Stars is entirely no more, and Mayu Iwatani's unit will all go their separate ways. Moving on, we have the first of two singles matches preluding the Goddess of Stardom Championship match, taking place at our next show in Osaka, as Azumi of Queen's Quest meets with Shuri of Donna del Mondo. And after nearly 17 minutes, it is Azumi picking up the victory, quickly pinning Shuri with Azumi Sushi, catching one half of the reigning champions by surprise, building momentum for Momo Azu, heading in to the big tag title clash at our next show. 57 performance from Shuri, which is very solid for her, a 51 from Azumi, generating a 51 segment rating overall. Nothing else of note to comment about this match, just a pretty great singles bout between these two. And as we move on, we see their partners competing in a singles match as well. Momo Watanabe, the leader of Queen's Quest, meeting with Julia, the leader of Donna del Mondo. The match itself is just huge when on paper, and after 20 minutes flat, the time limit expires. There is no victor. Momo Watanabe and Julia go the distance and draw. Both competitors scoring a 55 rating and a segment rating of 60 for the match. This is the first time a match has gone to a time limit draw in this series. Real life Stardom tends to do them quite a bit, so I've been trying to stray away from there and just keep decisive finishes as commonplace in this series. Though for story purposes, and when some matches just get to that point, I am going to go to the time limit draw, but I never want it to feel like a cop-out of sorts, so 20 minutes on the clock. Just a normal match preluding the Goddess of Stardom Championship bout in Osaka, and it goes the distance between Momo Watanabe and Julia. And just ahead of our main event, we have the Queen's Quest team of Utami Hayashishita and Saya Kamitani, known as Aphrodite, taking on Donna del Mondo's Himeka and Maika. It is a clash between former Goddess of Stardom champions in our semi-main event, preluding the huge World of Stardom Championship match in Tokyo, as Utami Hayashishita meets with Himeka. And after 16 and a half minutes, Maika gets the victory over Saya Kamitani with a Maika cutter. Pretty unfortunate is this one. Himeka sustaining a fractured cheekbone ahead of her big title match. Along with that, she has zero chemistry with Maika. She was off her game and she was slowed by injury. Still managing to get a 34 rating, however. Utami best of the match with a 60, Saya Kamitani with a 39, and Maika with a 36. Himeka getting some really unfortunate luck here, bringing the segment rating down to a 38, and we can only hope that things are going to be okay for Himeka, that she won't have to take any time off and miss her big title match in just a week's time. And one extra unfortunate note is that the locker room is unhappy with Saya Kamitani being the one to cause the botch that injured Himeka. Very unfortunate injury luck in this video and in the last video as well. Things not exactly looking up for the Stardom roster in terms of physical condition. In our main event now, we have the Artist of Stardom Championship on the line, as the reigning champions Tam Nakano, Unagi Sayaka, and Mina Shirakawa, known as Cosmic Angels, defend against Oedo Tai's Konami, Ruaka, and Saki Kashima. After 17 minutes, Tam Nakano gets the victory for her team, pinning Ruaka with a Tiger Suplex one more time, and Cosmic Angels make the third defense of the Artist of Stardom Championship. Konami at the top of the match with a 64, Tam Nakano with 59, Saki Kashima in third with a 45, Unagi with a 41, Ruaka at 39, and Mina at 38. A segment rating of 49 overall. Not very good for our main event, though it is certainly better than what I considered putting on last, which was the match you saw before. 49 rating overall still increases our popularity in 24 regions. Not the best show that it could have been, but still giving us some important story in several of the matches that we'll be seeing in the next video. And the following day, we have quite a lot to look at, but we start with some positive news, that being our viewing figures, as we get 600 viewers on Samurai TV and 53,629 viewers overall. Stardom definitely reaching quite a sizable chunk of people, which is so nice to see. I'm happy that our company has been growing the way that it has. We have not suffered any popularity loss yet, and I don't think we will going forward. Looking at the medical page, we have another casualty on the list, joining Hina and Koguma in injuries that are being worked through, thank God, as Himeka is affected for the next 15 days with her fractured cheekbone. She will have her performance hindered in the big World of Stardom title match that she's going to be a part of, though at least I won't have to change plans entirely. As far as moral issues are concerned, Himeka is irritated, so not as bad as things could be. She is quite happy about her string of victories and the backstage environment as well. She is such a ball of joy in the backstage environment. She recently organized a poker tournament for everybody. So it's nice to see that Himeka's morale is at least staying a little bit up. Saya Kamitani, on the other hand, not so much. She is still pleased from her victory at Shining Stars Night 3, though she is quite annoyed at herself for causing that injury to Himeka. Finances looking up quite a bit this month. We made a profit of $152 in June, which is not much at all. That's nothing to be too proud about. But in this month of July, things really looking up for us. 20,000 profit already. Pretty on pace with our numbers, though we do have 3 more big shows this month, so definitely going to be exceeding June by quite a good margin. And with all of that looked at, I believe that is going to bring an end to this video. If you did enjoy, as always, make sure that you are liked and subscribed. It helps me out a lot. Leave any feedback and suggestions in the comments below. I've really enjoyed reading your ideas and your thoughts and opinions on everything that I've been booking so far, and having the influence of the audience really does help me going forward. Follow me on Twitter if you please, Alien Duckling. You can find it below in the description, and I will see you all in the next video for 3 Cinderella Summer shows. Goodbye.